Hello everyone. Now I don't really think if I ever made a video on Path. Now Path is a very simple, extremely simple password management utility which you can manage from your terminal, from your command prompt. In case you are using Linux, I'm sure it works on Linux, almost all the major Linux distributions. I use Arch. I've used this on Fedora, but I'm sure it will work. It should work on other distributions. But if you want to learn, if you want to start using it, and I can tell you from my experience, it can be, although it is simple, it is extremely simple, but it can be a bit not difficult, but it can be a bit challenging because you might be able to use it, but at the same time, when it comes to storing passwords that you can retrieve, and also when it comes to storing passwords, you sometimes need to store, not sometimes, but in most cases, you also need to store a bit more information along with just a password. So this is Path, and you can read the documentation. But if you want a very simple or a simplified documentation, you can refer to this Arch Linux wiki, and this is of course something that you can refer to because it is extremely simple. Now the way it works is you need basically a couple of things on your computer. You basically need GPG, which you should have if you're using Linux. If not, you need it. And to get started, I'll not really, of course, give you the whole tutorial because there are plenty of videos online. I'm just trying to share my perspective, and I want to focus on two things. Number one, how to add some additional information along with the password, but also how to sync your password, because I use a couple of computers, and although 99% or 95% of the times I work on this main computer, but I sometimes also use my other computers, and I need my passwords because it can be annoying if I don't really have the password with me. So to get started, you need to initiate your pass with your email ID. So you can use a pass init and your email ID, one of your email ID, let us say. You can use multiple, but for sake of simplicity, you can just use the primary one that you use, and it has nothing to do with the email. It is not really your email password. It is more about some ID that you are using, because when you are using another computer, you may want to also export this this GPG key pair to the private key to other computer, so that you can decrypt your passwords, the file. So basically, when you start using it, you just need to generate. After you do the init, you can then generate the password. And for generating a password, you can use this command pass insert, and then the name of, let us say, one of your. This is not really the URL. It is basically, let us say you want to generate a password for Google or maybe Facebook, if in case you're using, in case you want to store it. So you can generate the password, but when I generate my passwords, when I store my passwords, I try to follow some hierarchy. So all the shopping sites will have shopping/amazon.co.uk, amazon.in, and so on. For example, if I'm generating a password for some social media and networking sites, I use social/. So whenever you do slash, it will generate a password for you, and it will also generate a password in this hierarchy. It will create a folder for you. Now to retrieve all the passwords, you can type in pass, and it will give you all the passwords in like a nice hierarchy. And you can also use this generate command to generate using n to generate this password for you in case you don't really want to type it. But to retrieve the password, and this is interesting, you can use something like -c, like pass. You can just type in a pass and then the whole path, and it will basically give you the password on the terminal. It will decrypt it, of course. And by the way, we're talking about decrypting the passwords, but in the beginning, when you are starting to use, you can follow You have to basically generate the key pair in the beginning and just follow the documentation. I know you can follow the documentation, but when the password is stored, it will store in a home directory by default, in a hidden directory called .password store. That is it. So when you do this, you can then retrieve those passwords, and the directory structure in the password store will be presented. So you can do pass or you can do pass ls. Pass works, to be honest. So when you retrieve a password, you can also copy it, because you may want to copy it to the clipboard, which is great, like -C. And you can also use pass menu, because when you do pass menu, it will actually open the D menu prompt in case you're using DWM, and you can also copy it from the D menu, which is amazing, right? And you can also use, I believe, in case you want to type the password for you. I don't really use that a lot. I just use -C, or if I use pass menu, which is of course bound to one of my shortcut, I can just copy it to it will copy it to the clipboard. Now the main thing that I want to talk about is this data organization. So usually if you look at your password in like the way it is stored, if you do pass, edit and password name, which is, let us say, that the full path, it will open the it will decrypt the password and also show you that particular file, like a text file, which is of course decrypted for you. But in that particular file, usually it is just one line password. But in case you want to store a bit more information, like maybe you want to store something like secret question or maybe anything, because it's a text file, right? So you don't have to follow this example, which is of course also mentioned on the online documentation, but you can store anything that you want. The first line has to be password, because when you retrieve it using -C, when you copy it to the clipboard, when you retrieve it, it will retrieve everything, but when you copy it to the clipboard, it will only copy the first line. Now the thing is that to make sure that you are able to store multiple lines, when you generate the password, you have to use this option called basically just pass -m. So it's like a multi-line multi-line text file, which it will generate, and it will ask you to enter the password and other details, and then of course it will decrypt it, and that is it. So this is what I wanted to share. But the main thing is that once you have this .password store directory, you can then commit it to your Git. You can follow. You have to basically commit it to. You can follow the online documentation. The recommendation is to use bare repository, and then you can of course clone it, the repository on other computer. But the main thing is that you need your GPG key pair. So you need to basically export it, and then you can also import it. I'm not really going to talk about the tutorial in this video. It is not a tutorial. I'm just trying to share my usage. It is very simple, and it is supposed to be simple because it is nothing but a simple way to manage your passwords on your computer, which you can share among your other computers. And that is it. That is all I wanted to talk about in this video. Pass utility. I used to store passwords in a similar way, but it was not really ideal. And it took me a while, but I moved my passwords, not each and everything, but majority of them, to this approach. And it works really well because it is not, the way I'm able to retrieve the passwords is amazing using, the pass menu. All right, that is it. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.